Hi, this is Cameron back again, this time with a video response to Vinyl Richie's 21 favorite psychedelic albums. Now, much like he said, I have a big CD collection of psychedelic rock, but this is all taken out of my vinyl collection, and it's also a case of choosing no more than one album per artist. I've tried not to duplicate his list, but I have a few that are the same or from the same artist. I've also got a few that were in Hippie DJ Kit, Costa's response video as well. So there's a little bit of duplication, but I'm adding some new albums to this list of top psychedelic rock albums. So I hope that you enjoy them. Okay, to start off, I have from Chicago in 1969 a band called Aorta, and they featured the Donlinger brothers as well as Michael Bean, who they all went on to be part of Lovecraft, a later version of H.P. Lovecraft, and then Michael Bean started The Call, and he also had some solo albums. So to get started, Aorta, and they're sort of a psychedelic pop band from Chicago. There's an inner sleeve, or gatefold, I should say. Next up from the UK, again a pop psych band. This one's called Art, and their album's called Supernatural Fairy Tales. This came out in 1967, and it's UK pop psych. This is one that Vinyl Richie showed. It's one of my favorite albums from the 60s. This came out in 1969. Joubert and the Field Hippies, the American Metaphysical Circus, and this is sort of a symphonic psych album. So he's very influenced by the avant-garde classical artists of the day. Next up, one of my favorite albums of all time, Chrysalis, and this came out in 1968 from the United States, and the best known song on this album is called April Grove. One of my favorite Canadian bands of the 60s. They later on became Chilliwack. I've shown this in a previous video. This is the Collectors out of Vancouver, BC, and this is from 1968. It features Lydia Purple and What is Love. Another favorite album of mine is a band, I believe out of California, called the Daughters of Albion, and Daughters of Albion, and I believe that they're produced by now I'm forgetting Leon Russell. That's right, from 1968. Opens up. This is on Fontana, and I have the original postcards that go with it, or pictures that go with it. Okay, next up, Another one of my favorite bands from the 60s out of, I believe, Houston, Texas is Fever Tree. I have all 4 of their albums. I really enjoy their orchestral takes on interpreting other artists' songs. Like they do Buffalo Springfield. Some nowadays Clancy can't. What is it? Nowadays Clancy can't sing. I don't remember the exact title of the song. This is their first album from 1968. Okay, I believe Costa on Hippie DJ Kit showed Velvet Fog. They later on became a band by the name of The Ghosts. And this is called For 1 Second. It's a reissue. It originally came out in 1970. My reissues on Bam Caruso. Now, the first album by the Grateful Dead from 1967 is sort of mildly psychedelic, but it shows the roots of what they were going to become, and so I'm featuring it. This one was shown by Vinyl Richie. He had a twofer of Hendrix's first 2 albums. I have the second album, although I'd have to say that I do prefer the first album. Axis Bold as Love of Jimi Hendrix Experience from 1968. Mine got a little bit of water damage, so I've since got it on CD. I haven't replaced it on vinyl yet. It is a reissue from the 80s. Another album shown by Costa on Hippie DJ Kit, but my cover's different as mine's a reissue from the mid-80s on Psycho Records out of LA. The band called Hunger, Strictly from Hunger. Now, what psychedelic feature would be complete without showing some psych folk from the Incredible String Band? This is the 5,000 Spirits or the Layers of the Onion from 1967, I believe, and they're out of UK. Very whimsical psych folk. Again out of UK, but by way of Dominica originally. Julian J. Saverin's band, Julian's Treatment, a time before this. So it originally appeared as a double album, and then they reissued it, at least, or the original reissue in Canada was they put the double album onto a single album. They were able to fit it all. As far as I know, this came out in 1970, so from the UK, and it's a psychedelic science fiction story that is or that they play to. Again, there's a gatefold. I'll show the full Okay, one album that Vinyl Richie mentioned, but he said he didn't have it, so I'm lucky enough to have the original band from UK with some psych pop, July, and this came out in 1968. Again, one of my favorite albums of all time from the States. I don't remember where they're originally from, maybe the Midwest, but then they moved to the California. Mad River, this is their first album from 1968, featuring Amphetamine Gazelle. which is a psychedelic downer song if you ever heard one. Okay, also I believe out of the States, mine's got a little bit of water damage. This is a band that plays some psych pop called Orphan Egg. This album is from 1968 as well. This is one that was shown by Vinyl Richie, Pink Floyd's first album, Piper at the Gates of Dawn from 1967. Mine's a later issue. Pre-80s, I believe. I believe it's from the 70s. Again, a pop psych album from 1969. The Sapphire Thinkers from Within. They're from the States. And I really like the variety of the songs on this album. Sounds like it was done in one take. Sounds very fresh and immediate. Okay, another one shown by Vinyl Richie. This is an 80s reissue of Texas band and the original psychedelic bands, the 13th Floor Elevators, featuring Rocky Erickson. Psychedelic sounds of 13th Floor Elevators. And this is an 80s reissue. Just when they were starting to get popular again, or famous again, I guess is more apt of a description. Also from 1968, this is one of my very favorite 60s albums because of the variety of the sounds. Every song is different, and I wish they'd gone on and played more albums or put out more albums. This is the Travel Agency on Viva Records. Again, I believe they're from California. So with Cadillac George is one of their more popular songs. That's the Travel Agency. And finally, another one that Vinyl Richie showed, and again, it's one of my very favorite albums of the 60s, from 68, some symphonic rock that later became Joubert in the Field Hippies. This is Joubert's The United States of America. So that's it for my top 21 vinyl albums that I own. I could have chosen some others. There were some albums I listened to again. I had them originally in my list, and as I sort of listened, I discerned that really they weren't so psychedelic, rather than just sort of suggesting psychedelic sounds like Future by the Seeds, and I was thinking of Fuchsia. But in the end, I decided that they really were more suggestive of psychedelic rather than being psychedelic. So that's it for my list. Please leave your comments at the bottom. I look forward to hearing from you, and please subscribe. Have a good day. Bye-bye.